Welcome to Game Savers Podcast, your next gen gaming podcast for news, reviews, previews, and Returnal, because that came out this week. And we're here to talk about it because some of us have played it and some of us haven't. So, Wayne, Alex, I know both of you have spent a decent amount of time with this bad boy. Obviously, again, we're talking about Returnal, just came out for the PlayStation 5. This comes to us from House Marquee. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Again, it was published by Sony as a PS5 exclusive. What do you guys think about this game so far? We've been playing it a little bit. Only came out a few days ago, but what are your thoughts?
It's different from anything I have ever played. If anyone remembers, a few podcasts back, I said that this year I wanted to play something that was a little bit out of my comfort zone. So I trying to get good at a PvP game or taking on a JRPG. I've discovered that this is it. This is my game out of my comfort zone for this year because it's a roguelike, as it's referred to, and I'm sure most of our listeners know what a roguelike is, but for those that don't, it's essentially a game where you start from the beginning and you take a run through the game doing as well as you can, and when you die it sends you back to the start and you run through it again over and over and over again, and each time it's essentially different because the levels are procedurally generated, so it's never the same twice.
Now, if that doesn't make sense to you, what are some games that come to mind from this genre of roguelike? I think of like Slay the Spire, Hades is a recent one.
Binding of Isaac, for example. I think, yeah. Like, and also for me, this is the first roguelike ever. I like challenging games usually. I mean, I'm to plug Dark Souls again. I like Dark Souls. That's the one per episode. You don't say. So yeah. I was always put off by roguelikes because everything that you just explained, it's just like procedurally generated each time you go through the game. There's some sense of progress, but it's a little bit more difficult to get some progress into the game. That's why up until now I kind of stayed away from them. But when I saw Returnal for the first time, I was like, this looks good. And each subsequent trailer was actually, yeah, this looks more and more decent. I'm going to give it a shot. And man, what a game it is. It's good and it's bad. I love it and I hate it. And I want to throw my PlayStation out of the window. But then I still cannot wait to get off work to play some more Returnal. This has caught me in all the wrong and right ways, I would say.
Yeah, well, what you were saying there, same with me. This is my first roguelike. And those aspects that you mentioned, that repetition, that procedurally generated aspect of it. I hate repetition in games. Like, I don't want to go through the same area. I hate having to backtrack in games. I hate seeing areas I've seen before. I hate those like live service games where you're grinding the same content over and over again. And I also, generally speaking, don't like procedurally generated levels because I think a well-crafted level is a great thing. So there's two things about this game that immediately I would go, I don't think this is for me. But as you say, once you get into it, or I would actually say more accurately, once the game gets into you, once it gets its teeth into you.
Absolutely. And I think you're touching on a very good point there. Games that have like very meticulously built levels and areas and everything. This is something that I usually love. That's why I love story-driven games, not so much open world games. And I was a little bit afraid of what I was getting myself into with all the procedural generated stuff. And there are some good things and some bad things about this. The good thing is it doesn't get boring. Like every time you start anew, it feels different, and it feels like you're like being dropped into a new world. But on the downside, sometimes it feels like, man, I'm not going anywhere here, and this game is not going anywhere. I'm not progressing whatsoever. But I think this is one thing, at least from what I know about other roguelikes so far, that Returnal does different. Because there is actually some story in it, and it's very mysterious, and this is stuff that keeps me intriguing. It keeps me intrigued. Man, I love stuff like X-Files, love stuff like Lost, that lets you fill in the blanks. And so far, as far as I'm in the game, it lets me fill in the blanks, so I'm happy with that. But I'm also curious to see where this is actually going.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there in the story aspect of it, because again, the idea of just grinding through something for the sake of grinding through it, trying to get to the next bit,
Mm,
doesn't necessarily appeal to me. But
mm,
it sets up a mystery, and I
yeah,
don't want to just go online and find out what the answers to this is. I want to discover it myself. And
yeah.
I've been in certain rooms where it lifts heavily from the Alien franchise,
Oh yeah.
and I don't want to put people off, but there's some of it reminds me of Prometheus.
Hmm.
Those sort of holograms that sort of give you clues to the story and stuff. And
Hmm.
all of that is making me go, I want to get further. I want to
Yeah,
progress.
definitely,
Um,
definitely.
how did you get on with your first run, your first venture into the world of Eternal?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I was going in.
describe this. I'm curious.
Yeah, well, I was going into the game thinking like, okay, I just finished Dark Souls 1, right before I started with Returnal. This is gonna be this is gonna be probably challenging, but pretty doable for me. And I was dropped into this world. I was thinking, oh my God, this is like so alien, like the most alien thing I've seen in ages. This is so mysterious. And I felt like it's a little bit like Metroid when you start. There are certain ways you can go, certain ways you cannot go. So it also has some like Metroidvania elements. Then I ran into the first enemies. They start firing their bullets at me, and it's just like bullets everywhere. I'm like, shit. So yeah, I died probably within the first 10 minutes or so of the game.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
how was it for you, Wayne?
But my first run, so you get into the game and it's throwing quite a lot at you at the start. The systems, the currency, the way your health and your
Yeah.
adrenaline works. And I'm slowly just trying to get an understanding of each of these little aspects. I hit the combat and I just think this is brutal. I mean, it's not like Gears of War where, you can run and hide behind cover and get your health back. If you lose health, it's
Mm,
gone unless you can get a little health pack. They're dotted about the place,
mm,
but they're few and far between. And I think I managed to last about half an hour in my first run, but I was taking my time. I was kind of looking about, and I just set the controller down and went, I will never finish this game. If that's how badly I done on my first attempt, I will
mm,
never finish this game. And I was half tempted to just go, I'm done with it. I'm done with
mm,
it. I had another go and died again pretty soon. And the frustration started to kick in. Not that fun frustration, but that God damn this game, God damn this game. So I stepped away
mm,
from it. And then the second session, I went back to it and started to just explore a little bit more, take my time even more, trying to get an understanding of the systems. I don't know about you guys, but like with other games, with RPGs, there's
mm,
huge aspects of it that you can completely ignore. For example, you can play Witcher 3 on normal difficulty and not even bother with the magic. Just
mm,
focus on your swords and stuff, and you can get through the game and ignore it. I think with Returnal, you need to understand all the systems and what all the different like things you can pick up and things you can what's the word I'm looking for? Like craft, things you can craft at
mm,
the little stations. You need to fully understand this game and understand that you can go back to your ship and get your health back. That if you collect health when you've got full health, that increases your bar.
mm,
There's lots and lots of little things. And the more you understand the game, the more you realize, if I do this, maybe I'll fare better in the next fight. Maybe
mm.
I'll get a little bit further. And that was starting to happen. And then it died again. It was like back to the start. And you lose virtually everything.
Yeah.
Everything's gone. But then there was one point where I won't say what it is because I think it's one of those things that whenever you discover it, but I got a tool and it let me keep that whenever I went back. And then I had another
Mm,
blast and I got another tool. And each of these things, these little tools, they help you with your next run. So you're a
mm,
little bit more prepared. It's not what I was expecting. I expected that you might have got XP and leveled up. So you done a run,
mm,
you got to level 5, you know, then you
mm.
died and you went back, but you started at level 5, so you're a bit more powerful next time. It's not like that at all. It is literally just these tools that carry over to your next run, or at least that's what I've experienced so far. I'm not as
Mm,
far into it as yourself are.
mm.
And
So this
I'm starting to get the grips with it, and I'm starting to get a little bit of hope after that initial like I'll never beat this game.
So
such a
you're like Leia, just hope.
Yes, yes. There is
By the way,
another.
May the 4th be with you.
Indeed.
Today is the day. That's right. Yeah, gosh. So such a wide range of emotions, it sounds like, in such a short amount of time with this game. But would be curious to know. So for the people at home that, obviously you've probably seen a trailer for this game at some point at an event throughout the past year. For Sony, would be curious, how would you describe this game story wise? What is the setting? What is the environment? Who's this character you play as? How does all that kind of tie together for this game? Because I still see stuff for this and I still have no idea what on earth is going on.
I think this is one of the things that is really good about this game, because it is very cryptic and it leaves a lot of stuff in the dark that maybe gets resolved later on. All you know by the start of the game, that your name is Celine, you're on some sort of scouting mission on the planet Atropus, and you get hit. I don't know if you actually get hit, but you just crash land onto this planet, and she just tries to find a way off of the planet to tries to get away before she stumbles on her own corpse, like within the first 5 minutes or so. Like she sees her own corpse on the ground and says like, okay, there's something really fucked up going on here, and I have no idea what, and I need to get away here as fast as possible. And there are some flashes in between when you start a new run, or you can lay down in your ship to sleep and you can see some flashing images coming up. Nothing is really explained nothing is really explained that it's coherent, at least as far as I am in the game. That's one layer. The other layer is what's going on the planet. What's up with all the alien buildings, the large doors? You can find some runes, start to understand the language that those aliens spoke or have written, and you uncover what was going on there, why this is all like just empty, why there are no living creatures.
Yeah, it really is. It's just a big mystery. There's some other sort of, I don't know if supernatural is the right word, but definitely psychological oddities going on within the game that I don't want to touch on, because it is kind of a nice surprise when you come across them. Yeah, story wise, I would just say I don't know what this is about, other than the fact that I've crash landed on an alien planet, and everything wants to murder me immediately.
Yeah.
That sounds like Earth for me.
Sounds like COVID.
Yeah. Gosh. So, I mean, this game, again, still enshrouded in mystery, even after everything you guys have said. Again, and I'm someone that's still on the fence here, looking to, maybe buy this thing in the future. But again, from what you've played so far, how does the game actually play? How does it feel in comparison to other games? Because this is obviously the studio's first outing. The only other major title they've ever had was Resogun, which I think was a PS4 launch title, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they made a couple of games. Super Stardust, if you remember this. This is
that's right.
Like the bullet hell shooter. And I think it's funny to see that they made some bullet hell shooters, 2D bullet hell shooters, and now they just like take these elements and put them into like a third person shooter. You can definitely tell, okay, we have like some background with arcade games, and the game actually feels very arcadey from the way that you control it and how the gunfights are at points.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Risk of Rain for some reason, like a really souped up, Risk of Rain on steroids, obviously, because the graphics, the story elements, everything else is just way different there. But that same concept is there, where you're playing a third person game and it's roguelike and, all that fun stuff. But do tell, please. I yield the floor to those with more experience on this game.
Yeah, the bullet hell aspect of it actually reminds me a little bit of Nier Automata. There's
definitely
certain levels in that where you're just, there's fire shots coming at you from all angles. But I think it controls fantastically. There's never a point where I die because the character didn't do what I wanted them to. They didn't jump at the right time, or they didn't move out of the way fast enough. The movement's great. I really, really like. In Dark Souls, there's that slow roll and that slow sort of attack, and everything's heavy and clunky. Well, I'm no Dark Souls expert, but that's my perception of it. This is slick and fast. Like the dash move to get out of the way just works really, really good. It's really handy that you can't get hurt when you're dashing. So one of the things you can actually do is dash towards shots that are coming towards you and dash through them. the one thing I would recommend, it one small tip, and go into the options and turn it on to always running, because it just means your character's moving fast all the time, and it makes it definitely better than having to get that click in every time you want to run away from an enemy. The aiming's great. The weapons I have enjoyed so far. I didn't even realize at the start. I was kind of like click, 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 click for the gun. I didn't realize if you just hold it down, it'll fire.
It's a fully automatic gun, and you're firing it off like it's a
it is.
rifle or
and
something.
I did the exact same thing. Was like, oh my god, my finger is starting to hurt. But then just like,
and then you remember whenever the PlayStation was coming out, I was like super excited about the DualSense and the haptic feedback and stuff. There's a fantastic feature whereby when you push the L2 button in, it'll only go halfway at a normal press, and that's your aim. And if you want to use a special move, you need to push it, and it kind of clicks a little bit further than that in, and it feels so good. And the fact that that's not hard locked in, that's programmed. That's the controller responding the way the developers want it to respond, and that is it's
pretty impressive.
It is so good. Yeah.
I think you can really tell that Housemarque had quite some time with the DualSense, because the whole DualSense implementation is almost as good as in Astrobot. Seriously, this game starts out, you're just like in a rainy environment, and like in Astrobot, you can feel every fucking raindrop on your controller. It's ridiculous. And also like the alternative fire with L2, what you said. I described it to my roommate as like L1, L2, L3. It feels
you're right.
It feels like it's like a additional button on the L2 trigger.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the GameCube pad. I mean, but it was hard locked in. It only worked one way. But you push that in almost all the way, and there's just a little bit of resistance, and you can push it in for a click at the end. This is kind of working like that, except as I say, it's dynamic. The controller isn't locked in that way. It can be changed to work any way you want, or any way the developers want, and just that's amazing. I would be willing to bet large sums of money that within a year, I was going to say Xbox, but not even necessarily just Xbox, but other console manufacturers are going to come out with similar control pads.
Geez, I hope so, because this is really one of the best things about the PlayStation 5. This made me pre-order Resident Evil 8 for the PlayStation 5 instead of the Xbox, even though I have the entire series on the Xbox. But the whole DualSense implementation, even the Resident Evil 8 demo, that's genius. Seriously, this changes so much, in my opinion. It sounds like such a small thing, and Returnal benefits a whole lot from this. This would be not a bad game, but a little bit of a worse game if this wouldn't be in there.
Huh. Interesting. So the DualSense does play a large role in this bad boy of Returnal.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know too on the environment. When I see this game, it's obviously really dark, gloomy, kind of Dark Souls-esque, I guess, in that sense. You're seeing all kinds of things.
Do I like this?
Yeah, it's it's all kinds of things that are foreign to you, and to me, it just looks like a ton of aliens with a million arms and shoot a billion projectiles at you, and I can't really make any sense of it. Yeah. But how are the enemies and the environment in this game? How do those correlate together?
Well, I think I can speak a little bit more here, because what you see in the trailers, that's not all that there is. You go to completely different environments that look and feel completely different, with completely different enemies. I don't want to spoil too much, but because I really think this is something, when you see it, it will be like a big O, and when you see the enemies in the other environments, it will again like be a big, oh shit, they're really doing this. Okay, fine. But just from the trailer material, don't think that all the game is entirely dark and it's in this dark and rainy environment, because it's 100% not the case. But getting there, that's a different thing, because you die a lot there. And there's actually one skill check. This is again something that's very similar to the Dark Souls games, where there's usually like one skill check for the player pretty early on in the game. The first boss. Wayne, have you killed the first boss yet?
I have only reached the first boss one time, and that was my last run, and I did not beat him. I suspect I might have a better chance last time, because on that run I got one of the tools that we talked about, and that's going to help me
Mm.
be better prepared for it next time. So fingers crossed. I didn't do too bad. I thought I was doing brilliantly. I was doing the first boss, and I was like,
Mm.
"Holy crap! I'm going to beat him on my first shot." Little did I
Mm.
realize that he had 3 health bars and not just one.
Uh,
So
Yeah.
I got the first health bar away. I got the second half. I got half of the second health bar away. So I got about 50% of the way there. And I thought that wasn't bad
Mm.
for first time reaching. the
Nah,
first
isn't
you
that
you
the
you
worst
you
thing?
you did better than I did.
boss.
Isn't that the worst thing ever when you finally like drill a boss's health down in any game for that matter, and you've burned all your resources, your throwables, whatever it may be, spells, potions, and then it's just like, hey, I got more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
phase
got
2.
another life bar. Gotcha. Surprise. Regenerating.
It-
Here you come.
It's like every JRPG end boss ever. Oh no, you killed me. JK, I have 3 more forms.
Yeah. Like, why Ganondorf?
Yeah. Oh boy.
Gosh.
Sephiroth. Oh.
Yeah, him too. Yeah, well, gosh, I mean, again, still, I'm confused as hell in this game. Even with you guys talking about it, I'm still stuck here in confusion, and I'm like, what the hell is this game? As I'm still watching the gameplay off on the side here. But what else would you have to say about this fine-looking roguelike in the name of
Yeah.
Returnal?
I think this is the kind of game, yes, it's super hard and it's really hard to get into. Once you get into it and like reach certain milestones in the game, this is one of the most rewarding games I've ever played. Because just the feeling when I killed the first boss, I was like screaming around, so yes, oh fucker, you're done. Like I got a text message from one of my roommates. Is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, I just beat a boss. She's like, okay. So yeah, this is one of the most rewarding things. Yeah.
How else does the game reward you then in that sense?
Because you get to go to a different environment, to a different biome.
Yeah, it is. It's like when you finish a level in Gears of War or Halo or whatever, you're just kind of like, well, of course I finished the level. I played it. I finished it. That's what happens in video games. Whereas in this, when you get that, even if it's just, as I say, I haven't really progressed past the first area, but I'm just getting like one wee thing, one little tool that makes me go, the next run's going to be slightly easier, and there's a tiny chance that I might progress further, and that's huge. It's just so it's so brutally hard that every little glimmer of hope becomes a big thing, like a major milestone, like something to celebrate. Whereas, you pick up ammo in Gears of War. Well, of course you did, because that's what you do in Gears of War. You find ammo, well, not ammo or such, but a health pack or some currency or whatever. Yeah, well, a good parasite. It's kind of like, yes, I might progress this time. It's exciting. It makes you excited, and it makes you want to get those positive hits in the game rather than just taking them for granted. I think the other thing, and it's something I'm really not used to in games, is there's I was going to say power-ups. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Things that can give you both a negative attribute and a positive attribute.
Oh.
So they might make your health a little bit higher, but at the same time, your firepower is not as good. There was actually one that I picked up, and it made me slightly less squishy, so I could take a bit more damage. But it meant that every time I picked up an item, it took health off me for just picking up an item, and it was like, this is brutal. And I'm not sure if I've got this right. Don't quote me on it. But each time you find one of these like augmentation things, you have to scan it, and you don't get a choice whether you pick it up or not. If anytime you find it after that, you can look at it and go, okay, that's such and such, I don't want it. But either that or I picked it up by accident. I might have just picked it up by accident, but it was raging because it was
actually you did.
But it just, whenever I had that equipped, it was kind of like, this run's ruined. I can't pick things up without being hurt. This run's ruined. And you're half tempted to just kill yourself. But again, there's always that element of hope. There's always that element of hope. And I think that's the thing that makes the game so good. It's a shimmer of hope in a really, really dark world. And it's, as I say, it's just got its teeth into me. It's the first game in a long time that I turn it off, go to bed, and lie in bed thinking about it, thinking about how I'm going to tackle my next run, thinking about what I could do differently. I don't know about you, Alex. I'm kind of trying to avoid all the little tips I see online. I can't help it.
Yeah, I do the
keep saying,
same.
I kind of want to discover it myself. I want to try and work out what everything does and make those decisions for myself and learn how the game works and try and learn it inside out so that I can get the best out of each run.
Mhm.
But you can't help it. You end up going and you see little tips and little tidbits.
Yeah, because it's on every goddamn website at the moment.
Yeah.
Like every gaming website that you go to, there's something about Returnal, which shows that this game supposedly is like a huge hit. And I think this is also very good, but also very weird, because we talked about Sony going the safe bet route from now
Sure.
on, and then this game comes out and is pretty much the opposite.
Yeah. I think if you bought this game not knowing what you're in for, you could end up absolutely hating it. I think you need to be prepped. People need to know what they're getting into before they buy this game, especially with the price tag.
Maybe let's touch on some things that could turn off people, or maybe that turned off us off. There are a couple of things that I actually really don't like about this game. So I mentioned very, very quickly the save point system, or more like the lack of a save point system. So this means you're on a run, you're having like very, very good run, have like a lot of power-ups. Then you're like, after 2 hours, reach the boss and get killed. You get set back to the boss and you have no chance either, like in any way on the way to the boss, to save somewhere, to just like turn off the game and continue afterwards. Every time you turn off your console and turn it back on, you're always at the start of a run. This is like a huge, huge turn off for me. The whole save point or lack of a save point system.
I'll be honest, that's the one thing that's holding me back, because I think from a game perspective, like, it's immersive and it's great, and get roast me here or whatever, but I'm one of those where I cannot sit down, and it's physically impossible in my house, in my situation, to sit down and play a game for 2-3 hours straight. Obviously, you know, you've got other elements, you know, if you've got dogs or kids and stuff like that, I mean, there is stuff you just cannot help. You need a pause button or something like that, right? So that's kind of what draws me away from some of these games, and I get that. That's fine, and if it's immersive for those that enjoy it, that's cool, but I don't see it as being a deal breaker if you add something like that in, right?
I think,
and I mean,
I think that can be added in, but it has to be in a certain way, and I'll tell you what I mean. I think that thing you're saying kind of turns you off and you don't like about it, Alex. I think it's the game. I think that's the aspect that makes the game what it is. I think the game, that's its linchpin. I think if you took that away and if you had like an auto save and then you died just before the boss and then you could reload just before the boss, I think it would take all the tension out of the game. Now, what I do think they should implement is, say you're on, for talk's sake, a 2-hour run, okay? And then a friend phones and says, we're going to the pub in like 10 minutes. Be there, right? That's you're gonna lose your run. Well, you can put the game into what do you call it? Like rest mode. Yeah, suspended mode.
Is that putting the game in suspended or rest mode, or is that putting the console on rest mode?
The console.
That's a console. Yeah.
So the next time you put it
that's
up,
kind of
a
cheap way of pausing.
The thing is, now if I done that and then Claire came along whenever I was out and she played Spider-Man, well, that's it. That's it gone. So to me, there should be a way of saving your point in time, but you still lose the run if you die. You know, you can't like. I think people are referring to it as save scumming, where like they'll save the game before an important point, and then they'll just try again. And to me, that would just take away from the difficulty of the game, the challenge of the game, and the tension of, you know, because when you're on a good run, when you're thinking, oh God, I'm getting to the boss. I've got a good bit of health. I've got a good weapon. I've got good mods here. This could be the one.
Yeah.
The threat of death and getting sent all the way back is what makes that so exciting and so tense.
I agree. I 100% agree. And maybe I misspoke here. I didn't mean to like putting save games in and then going to the boss. Oh, I died to the boss. Let's go back to the last save game.
Okay.
I don't think that there's any reason for this to be in the game. But just today, Housemark posted on Twitter, because of all the quote unquote complaints from gamers, that they're looking into actually implementing a save game system. So if they actually do that and pull it off in a good way, I think there would be one thing like scratched off the list, like just taken off the list. The other thing, and I think this is also maybe more like a genre thing, sometimes the success of your run really depends on how the world is built and what power-ups do you find. I had runs where it was like right away. Second room, I was like, yeah, this is going to be shit.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from as well. There's just certain aspects where you're hitting certain enemies at a certain point and going, already, really, you're throwing that at me, you know. There was another run I had, and I don't know if I forget the phrase. There's a term for it when a game adaptive difficulty. I don't know if there's an element of that in that, because I had a really bad run at one stage, and then my following run just seemed like wild easy, and I'm not sure if like the game was going, oh, poor Wayne, have a nice easy one. You know?
Well, I got two questions for you two then, and I think it's in the interest of really anybody that's looking to, you know, spend money on a game. If you're just out there listening and you're like, okay, I might look at this. And this is really anybody. If you're like us and you spend money on a game, question for both of you: how would you rate this game out of 10? What number would you throw at it?
Oh, it's really early. I mean, as I say, I don't know how many hours you've put in, Alex.
Sounds like a lot.
We're
somewhere in the double digits. That is confirmed.
We are definitely in the double digits, but it feels more like I'm like two hours into the game, to be fair.
I've only actually played about the first 5 or 6 hours. So, and we've already talked about the roller coaster of emotions it sent me through. So it is really early to try and put a number on this. But if I had to, if you were putting a gun to my head, I think I'd say like an 8.5.
All right, I just pulled the trigger. Alex, next. No.
Yeah. Yeah. We like our projections are pretty close together. I might take into consideration that I dig hard games in general. So I would say actually 9 out of 10.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
So 8.7's middle ground between you two. I like that. Now, second question, the final question I'll have for you two in the interest of those listening. This game is currently $70. Okay, US dollars, that is, for those of you listening
or
internationally.
80 euro.
80 euro. Good God.
80 euro. Yeah.
That's okay. Well, anyway, my perception aside, is this game worth it at launch, in your opinion? 70 US dollars, 80 euros.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right, I'm going to stop making noises and actually say something. I would say it absolutely depends on your taste in video games and what else you've got on at the minute. Like, I personally think that there's been a bit of a drought of new games. A lot of people I've been chatting to have been working through their backlog and playing games from last year. So if you're looking for something new now, and you're willing to go with something that is balls hard and is definitely going to challenge you and you need a bit of patience for, then I would say yes, go for it, pull the trigger and jump on this, even though it is a little bit more expensive.
I'd like to quote Wayne from last week about this. I don't know if I like the game and it's $80, but I want to play something new on my PlayStation 5.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of us, those of us who are lucky to have got a PS5, are probably sitting looking at it going, you know, what did I buy this thing for if I'm not going to buy new games for it? And I know it sucks. It does suck that they're putting the price up, and we probably shouldn't support it, and we should not buy games and to try and, you know, send a message to Sony if you want to put it in such a way.
Ooh, controversial.
But at the same time, we bought this thing to play games. We bought a new console. We want to play new games on it, so we're gonna buy it, like, aren't we? People that are interested. I'll be honest with you. What actually happened with me was I was all set to buy it. I was going to buy it. I've got £25 PlayStation voucher still from Christmas that my brother gave me, and that would have meant putting 45 to it. So I justified it by going, well, it's only costing me 45. Payday rolled around and I looked at my finances and I thought, maybe I'll pass. Maybe I'll save some money because I'm trying to save for other things at the minute. Claire came into the office one day and said, did you buy Returnal? Did you get it downloaded? And I was like, I'm not actually going to buy it. And she was like, I was really looking forward to playing it. And I was like, I'm really, really sorry, but I'm not going to buy it. And she was like, buy it, I'll give you the money. So she ended up buying it anyway. And as I say, I can actually see her playing it from the living room from where I'm sitting. She's really enjoying it. I think she's enjoying it even more than me. Again,
Nice.
it's just got her by. No, you can't say that
The
expression.
hooks. That's what you were saying.
Yes, it's got her by the hooks.
The teeth sinked in.
The teeth are synced in. That's right.
And I think it's that determination of this game is not gonna beat me. I will progress in it. I will get somewhere further, even if it's just one more room than last time. I'm gonna do it. Because the game, it just goads you. It goads you into playing more and doing better. I'll touch on one wee thing, Alex. You were talking about things you didn't like about the game.
Yeah.
One thing that I don't like about the game is sometimes the screen gets a little bit messy with everything that's going on. And
yeah.
Your bullets and stuff are flying away from you. All those bullets are flying towards you. It's hard to kind of distinguish what's actually happening and what I should be avoiding. Maybe I'll get better with time, but that can be a little bit. I think maybe they've went a wee bit over top with like the particle effects and the bright, blitzy, flizzy, floozy bits stuff. Again, just making up words here.
It's fine.
But that aspect of it can be a little bit difficult to see what you're actually trying to do on screen.
All right. Well, good to know. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, between Wayne and Alex, we've given this Returnal an 8.75. There are some decimal places in there out of 10. So if you do check this out, let us know. Sound off somewhere where you can find us. Again, that's places like facebook.com/Gamesavers channel. We've also got an Instagram now. Is that correct, Alex?
That's absolutely correct. Posting daily on there, some additional stuff that's not on the podcast or not on Facebook. So yeah, check us out on Instagram. It's at Gamesavers Podcast.
Gamesavers Podcast on Instagram, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out. Go like some stuff. Follow us. We promise you're going to like what you see, and we'll give you the most recent news and updates we could possibly give you. But other than that, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to stick around next week for some news, some banter. Don't forget, we've also got Resident Evil Village coming out very soon, May 7th, May 8th, if you're in Japan. And then shortly after that, on May 14th, you got the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So a big month for some big titles. Stick around, listen in. Hope you're taking us with you as you travel or whatever you're doing in May. But again, you're going to like what we got coming your way. So thank you much for listening today. We hope you enjoyed. And as always, don't forget to save your game.